What's up, everybody? January 1865, and I'm absolutely hating myself right now because I've already recorded this video and then I inadvertently deleted it, and I deleted it in such a way that I could not recover it, and it was an accident. What I was trying to do is I was trying to render it in a different medium file so that I could render it properly to get on YouTube, and I screwed it up and I lost it. So consequently, this is not going to be as an in-depth portion of the video as I had done previously, because quite frankly I'm sick of talking about it and doing it again. But I'll do my best to give you the broad overview of where we are at in early January 1865, which means we have literally 1 year left of this game, and then the game is over. If I hold Richmond and or Atlanta in January of 1866, I win. And if he can take both Richmond and Atlanta before the last turn in December of 1865, he wins. And the reason I say this, I don't see him taking my 99 morale and getting down below the number that's required to cause me to lose, which would be, what, 40. I think we'll be okay. So I don't see him breaking my morale in the 12 months that he has allowed to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go theater by theater. So I'll start off in the Eastern Theater in Virginia, talk about how the disposition of forces looks. I'll jump to the kind of central Southern Theater, then the West with Mississippi, and I'll talk a little bit about Texas, although Texas is kind of at this point lost to me, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. Then what I'll do is I'll kind of step back as if you were looking at, America from 30,000 feet up or whatever, so you can see how the different military control lines look, where he's at, where I'm at, that sort of thing, and then kind of what's going on. And I think that'll probably conclude the video beyond just going over the overall casualty numbers, victory points, and so forth. So, all right, so starting in Virginia, just really quick little micro decision making here. I'm putting some mines and so forth here because he's got this fleet here, and anytime I can inflict casualties on that with the mines, what that allows to happen for us is that we get national morale for that. So that's why I'm doing that here. We're building a fort in this area here to slow down any sort of advance that he might have on Richmond, because this is obviously the only land region besides the one over here that, well, I guess technically this one too, right, that's connected to Richmond without crossing a river, right? So if we put a fort here, then he would have to theoretically take the fort before he could attack Richmond if I have enough in the fort to force him to have to lay siege to it, right? So that's why I'm doing that. As far as disposition of forces, we have 4 corps over here. It's pretty similar to what we had in 64. Not too much different from what you've been seeing. And then I'm not sure what he has here, but he does have a 3,000 force, 2,500, and then 24 down here towards my farther west flank. And then obviously I've made Stuart a corps commander, but he's a cavalry commander really, but he's a corps commander just in case he attacks here, and then these guys can come and reinforce him and protect him. Now I have a supply depot down here, Lynchburg, right? So I have this guy kind of hanging out in here just in case he tries to come down. So I need to make sure I protect this supply depot, because this provides supply to my Northern Virginia Army, in addition to Richmond and Petersburg and what else I have here. Get why I threw this down. What does this do? I guess it's requisitions. I got you. Okay. So requisitions, what it does is it decreases your loyalty and military control. It gives you some money. So I did that just because I basically conceded this area to him. So I've gone ahead and done that. So that's Virginia. Let's go down here to the south. I'm doing requisition here. Again, it's kind of areas that I'm just like, I don't have to worry about him attacking necessarily, and if I lose it, so what, right? I've got my blockade runners. As you can see, I got them broken up into 1 each. Anytime I move them out of this box, I make sure to attach a commander to it to get them out, or an admiral to get them out, to decrease the likelihood they will be engaged by his blockade forces. And they bring me around 10 or 12 cash per turn, so it's a pretty good return. I still have Charleston, right? So I've got a division. He's got probably 3 divisions. Yeah, 3 divisions core. But, you know, attacking a single division in a marsh with just 3 divisions actually is not as of a significant numerical advantage you would think it is. So actually having this 1 division here is not the worst of circumstances. Actually pretty good for us. And we get 20 cash from Charleston every turn, so that's good. I then have Johnston here, making sure that he can't land further forces here with Butler and then kind of come up my rear and hit Atlanta that way. Although, as we'll discuss in a moment, because of my absolutely botched attempt to defend Chattanooga, this may not matter much. You know, I think the thrust of attack onto Atlanta is going to come from Tennessee, not from South Carolina, or as in this case, Savannah. Now, the one thing I do have to worry about, and that's why I have him parked here, is, you know, he could certainly use this as a conduit to move up the rail line here and cut off any ability for me to extricate my troops from Georgia to, say, Virginia or the Carolinas, right? So it's still important that I hold here, because one, it decreases, or it eliminates another front that he can use to move on Atlanta, but then 2, allows me to keep my retreat out of Georgia, if necessary, open for the time being. And you know, I have three divisions here. All right. Now over towards northern Georgia and southern Tennessee. So first, another building a depot here to try and pull supply forward. I also have requisitions, so getting more cash. And the reason I did it in Atlanta was that, you know, I got a bunch of troops here anyways, so they're not gonna, you know, cause me any problems. And if you can see what I have here, by the time that makes a difference, he's gonna be on my border anyways, right? So he took Chattanooga. He took it at the worst possible time for me because it was during winter. So I'm trying to kind of do an organized retreat. And the idea is I'm going to take Johnson here, try and take out this, what is probably a cavalry division here, I'm guessing. Because he was operating over here, I think, as well. But if I can move Johnson here and hold here for a few turns, he can kind of dig in. And the idea being that these different corps kind of follow their lead behind him. And then what I'll do is I'll set up a front here, in the mountains, and in the mountains, right? So basically narrow fronts for him that even if he has a numerical advantage over me, the mountainous terrain will allow to narrow that down so he won't be able to bring his entire front to bear. That's the plan anyways. Now, whether I'll be able to accomplish that with the weather being what it is, with winter and trying to move out of here, who the hell knows? All of this is kind of in flux. I don't know if these guys are going to get to where they said they're going to go. I mean, again, that's 2 turns for him. You know, allegedly 1 turn for him to get across the river. Beauregard is, you know, 1 turn allegedly, but we'll see. You know, with the weather conditions changing, who knows? Maybe it'll clear up. I don't know. We'll see. But it's definitely a very precarious situation up here, and not something that I obviously foresaw, and I absolutely screwed up. There's no way around it. I totally screwed it up. Another thing I screwed up was my failed offensive on Mobile, so I was way too aggressive, and I was able to get my guys out of there, but not without heavy casualties and cohesion hits. And they're still in harm's way, right? So they're on the wrong side of the river at this point. I need to get Johnson across the river. It's going to take him 2 turns. He's got this river fleet here that could potentially prohibit him from crossing. Stewart is supposedly going to get across in 1 day, but we'll see, because again, his river fleet is right here. He can move it down, and if it takes less than 1 turn, or rather 1 day, then maybe Stewart will not be able to get across. So we'll see. But that's 3 divisions of troops, and then another, 3 divisions? 4. They're stuck here. So basically, everything that I could screw up in the past few months, I've managed to do. It's been great. This is why I play better than the Union. I don't play well in the defensive. I hate playing defensive. I like to just attack. But anyways, I digress. So we'll see what he does. He's got this 2,000 power force right here that he can move on me as well, right? And take advantage of my troops that are just kind of sitting here, vulnerable. So we'll see. He's taking Mobile. He's taking New Orleans. As you recall, he has the Mississippi. All right. And then Texas. So what's important for me in Texas are two things. Holding Galveston as long as possible, because that's where you export cotton with your cotton cards. Let's see, can I find them? Do I have them? These right here, these runners. So you use Galveston to run these cards. So see, I'm doing it right now. If I lose Galveston, I believe you lose this card, regardless of whether you can drop it in other spots. So now, again, the downside is you don't get the possibility for the $50,000 random event. But right now, excuse me, sorry. Right now, we need the 15,000 more than we do the random 50,000 event. So that's why I'm doing it. So trying to hold Galveston, as long as possible. Then I've got Price down here, kind of a makeshift force of cavalry, a little bit of infantry, and some artillery and cavalry. And that's Texas, and then I'm just kind of harassing his rear with Texas, trying to make it so it's harder for him to supply these guys down here. And then obviously he has California fully secure. And then New Mexico and Arizona. So now that we've gone over the kind of different theaters, let's kind of zoom back a little bit, and I'll show you how state-specific area military control looks. So 5 is your number to activate the state-specific areas. So here is the purple here is Virginia. It's got a little bit of the north, but not a whole lot. All right. He doesn't have any of North Carolina or South Carolina. The exception of right down here. He's got a little bit of South Carolina down here. And he's got a very smidge here of Georgia right now. Right? But he hasn't gotten into Georgia yet. But Georgia is safe so far. With the exception of right here and down here. Now Tennessee, on the other hand, is pretty much lost, right? Like from what, Carthage west? Yeah, Carthage west. He's got Tennessee pretty secure, and then a little bit of Mississippi and Alabama, but not a whole lot, as you can see there, right in here. All right. And then over here, let's look at first. Let's look at Louisiana. Here's Louisiana, Mississippi. Right in here, he's got this parts of Mississippi right here, and then the western bank of the Mississippi of Louisiana. And then Arkansas, which is this kind of light purple, right? He's got kind of the river areas. So I have the interior, which is worthless, and then he has the river areas of Arkansas control. See that? And then Missouri is basically no point to really talk about that, but he's got Missouri. All right, and then Texas, he's got the obviously important parts. Like I have, it's a big state, right? So it's a lot of land mass, so it's kind of hard to military control everything. But as far as him, he kind of went right up the gut down to the major parts of Texas that matter, and then we already talked about over there. So that's the overall disposition as far as military control and forces and so forth. Let's go over this number here. So we've lost 239,000 troops to this point. I've taken 28,000 prisoners. He has lost 258,000 troops, so about 20,000 more than I have. And his morale is 103. Mine is 99, which is not good going into 65. We need to change that. And then if we were playing for victory points, which we're not, I have a slight edge. Although he is getting 70 a turn, I'm only getting 22. So he would obviously pass me by the end of the game and win with victory points as well. And so what could happen, I believe, is that the Union could not take both Richmond and Atlanta, but still win the game by having more victory points than me. Anyways. All right, so that's a kind of a quick rundown of early January 65 where we stand. Let's proceed with the game and see what happens next. Not much doing this turn. It's late January 1865. As you can see over here in Virginia, we are still at a standstill over the last few turns. He did move forward, and he's now fortifying here. So that's one change here in Culpeper. I am moving this guy forward to kind of reinforce him a little bit more. Mainly, I just don't want him to push down and take my supply depot right here at Lynchburg. So I'm going to try and put a full division here just to at least slow that down if he decides to do it. And then obviously he brings his corps down, then I'll follow him accordingly. One thing that I hadn't really been pointing out over my last few turns is that I do have a couple of cavalry units protecting my rail line here, which now it's not really as important, right, because we lost Chattanooga. But I've had this guy here with a couple cav and then horse artillery, and then this guy up here with some cavalry. So that's kind of, I think, a good distribution actually, to have like 2 small cavalry units, maybe a third, just covering your rail lines here. And then I also had I had one more that I was using for deep raiding. I don't see where he's at right now. If I find him, I'll point him out. But over here in south of Chattanooga, so good news. So it's looking a little bit better, slightly. It's still, it's clear weather here in the mountains right now. So, and then we got Polk, who's able to get across the river, so I'm trying to move him over here. Beauregard didn't get across, though, even though it said he would. And for some reason it was saying it was going to take him like 30 days now. So now I'm shifting him over here, which would be 13 days. I'm still doing the cavalry screening. I was able to get Johnson here, and then also Mosby. So he is falling back. I think there was a battle. Yes, okay, so it was cavalry. Okay, so that's why he just broke pretty quick and got out of there. It's also why he was able to get there so quickly, I suppose. But so we were able to get here, so we're gonna start digging in. I'm trying to get him out. Part of the reason is I don't see him running, so I'm gonna try and flush him out of there, get him out of there. I'm digging in over here, so I'm gonna try and create a defensive line all across here. Trying to move these guys. I'm trying to send Taylor down to Atlanta so he can train up more troops. So I'm doing that. As you can see, he put a guy in the rear here trying to mess with my rail line, so I can't bring up reinforcements. But I should be okay here, getting across. And Smith should be across in 8 days. So it's not looking too bad. It's looking like we can get everybody across the river. He hasn't attacked me with this guy yet. He's not moving, so I'm not sure what he's doing. But yeah, weather's good. He probably just want to take his guy off the rail line, and I don't blame him. He is moving in on me up here, though, as you can see. All right. Now down here, also somewhat good news. So I was able to get Stewart across, which is good. I can't tell where his ironclads are, so I put more sea mines here and here to disrupt them. I'm also moving Johnston here, trying to get him across. I can't tell where I was trying to get him across, but I'm trying to get him over. As you can see here, this old death thing for this guy, it means he's like pretty much gone. he attritioned to death, and he's getting pretty close to attritioning to death too, so that is not good. I'm moving Stewart back. I wanted to keep him here to support Johnston, but he's also getting torn up by these ironclads, so I'm going to move him back just so he can recover cohesion. And also ensure that he can't go to, say, take this guy and sail him up the river with the ironclads and like get behind me and keep me from falling back towards Atlanta. So I'm going to pull him back here to kind of just cover my rear, and I'm still going to move Hampton forward. Something happened with his move. I don't know. He missed his move somehow, so he actually didn't end up moving forward like I wanted. But that's what's going on right there, and beyond that, not a whole lot. I am, one thing I'm also doing, I'm building a supply depot up here. And again, I'm going to take those supply wagons I was making in Atlanta, send them up here, grab the supply, and then push it forward up the rail line to these guys in the mountains to keep them alive. And that'll be kind of an ongoing affair for at least a few months. And so, for example, this one pack train here, I'm going to move it forward and move it up into here. And that's where I'm trying to get everybody, get them across. I think I mentioned before I built this fort here just to keep him from being able to sail up. So if he sails up, he'll kind of get stopped right here, and that'll give me some time. Same thing with this, just to kind of give myself a little bit of extra delay power if he moves from west to east along the rail line here, and then also a little bit of protection here on the river here too as well. I am doing some conscript cards. So as you can see here, I'm getting 45 conscripts from this. It's draft cards. I figured I would do that instead of firing the... so you see we went down to 2 conscripts. So... Alright, so now I'm doing this. I am doing partial mobilization. And that way we can burn through all this cash, because I thought I was going to have a lot of... I was going to be okay in conscripts. I know that was like a turn or two ago. And then I forgot just how many conscripts I needed to replace my very beaten up army. Alright, nothing in Texas going on, so I'm not going to jump over there. Alright, militia that I'm going to train up to line infantry. This tends to be the cheapest way for the Confederacy. It's a little bit slower, but you know, for every 2 militia that you can combine, you can create a a line infantry unit out of that. I need to spend my money on replacements. So that's why I'm not going with the any other kind of troops at this point. I'm building some 6-pounders just for defensive purposes, and this one down here, I'm building that because I'm going to put that down here or I think here actually. Yeah, I'm going to build a supply depot there, and again, the whole idea is I've got a lot of supply here at Tallahassee and I'm just not pulling it up. So hopefully building a supply depot here will pull that supply up and help, because I got 2 armies that I need to feed, and I lost a lot of supply at Chattanooga, so I'm trying to compensate for that. And here's the supply map. I'm still getting supply from Augusta up to the front here, Atlanta, Columbus, Montgomery, but you know, I'm going to go through this stuff pretty quick when you're talking about 2 full armies that need to be fed, so I'm going to try and pull this forward with another supply link there. And then obviously the supply depot there. Alright, before I conclude this one, let me see if there's any events. I'll go to the combat there in a moment. So he's doing war bonds. Got a blockade runner, which got us cash. Not letting me scroll. I guess not too much going on. All right, and then this was Alexander getting across. As you can see, he did try to block us. Interesting. So it looks like he put a sailor right here, trying to block our escape, but we were able to punch through. So that's good. All right, let me run the turn, and we will be back.